Together, we help trains move a ton of freight nearly 450 miles on 1 gallon of fuel. Tomorrow is full of promise. Let's keep it that way. CSX, how tomorrow moves.
Wall Street made some history to wrap up the week. The Dow Industrials closed at a new all-time high, that after rising 32 points. The Nasdaq added 20 and the S&P 500 gained 3 points. But only the Dow was a winner for the week, tacking on almost 0.5%. The Nasdaq slipped 1% and the S&P dropped a fraction. Radio Shack dropped near its all-time lows, that after tumbling 9.5%. The electronics retailer says it now will not be able to close as many as 1,100 stores because its creditors will not agree to the terms. We had a different story for another retailer during the day. Gap climbed 3%. Gap is showing better than expected sales growth and also is offering an upbeat earnings outlook. Once again out of Wall Street, the Dow rose 32 to close at an all-time high. I'm Steve Moore at MarketWatch.com.
WEDY invites you to participate in our promotions and on-air giveaways. Here are the basic rules. All contests are open to people 18 years of age or older, and there is no purchase necessary to enter or win. Prizes must be claimed in person with a valid photo ID within 14 days of winning the prize at our studios during regular business hours. Business hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Prizes such as event tickets must be claimed no later than 5 p.m. on the day of the event, or if the event is on a weekend or holiday, by 5 p.m. on the last business day before the event. You may win a prize from WEDY no more than once every 30 days. WEBY employees and their family members are not eligible to win any contest the station conducts. For a complete copy of WEBY's official contest rules, visit us during regular business hours or send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Official Contest Rules, WEBY Radio, 7179 Printers Alley, Milton, Florida 32583, or you can print them on our website at www.1330weby.com. Thank you for listening and good luck in our contests.
1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. This is Your Turn, a live call-in show featuring spirited discussion and debate about issues that matter to the community. Stay with us to hear what Northwest Florida thinks. Better yet, call in at 623-1330 and tell us what you think. It's Your Turn, here on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. Now, here's the host of Your Turn.
Over Darlington, the Oval Office of Talk Radio for the Gulf Coast, with Carl Gallows and Freedom Friday. Carl doesn't need a teleprompter. He actually knows the difference between right and wrong, and the difference between common sense and political correctness. He is on a first-name basis with God. What a refreshing place to be. Now, here's Carl Gallows.
All right, well, I'm going to say hello, America. Thank you so much. We're broadcasting live today. Thank you for tuning in, and you will not be disappointed. Another day in paradise along the Gulf Coast. For those of you listening from coast to coast and from sea to shining sea, we welcome you. We thank you for your phone calls, your letters, your correspondence, and especially your phone calls to the show and the kind comments that most of you leave on the internet and Facebook, etc., etc. We appreciate that. And, of course, we know that we have international guests as well, international listeners, and you'll be hitting us by podcast, and so we want to say hello to you right now. And then, of course, we broadcast to 4 states along the Gulf Coast. We have a lot of folks listening by radio right now, and we're always glad to have you. And if you want to be a part of the show today after this first guest, feel free to call 850-623-1330. In the meantime, I want to welcome Brandon Big B. Brandon Big B is in the house. Glad to have you with us today, co-host of Freedom Friday.
Man, it's my pleasure, and it is great to be back in the studio.
I'm telling you. Well, you know, we get you at least by telephone, but it's always good when you're in the studio because it's just, I don't know, it's just a little more electric this way. And plus, your fans can see you on Ustream. By the way, folks, we are Ustreaming.
That's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought. It is a scary
I don't know
thought.
if it's as scary as Mike Shoesmith being on Ustream last week.
No, love you, Mike. Mike Shoesmith, that was pretty scary. But you know what? At least it wasn't as bad as your first Ustream appearance when you came in like you've been working on a semi-truck all day.
Well,
I don't know. But folks, listen, we want to welcome you back, America. Welcome you back, Gulf Coast. God bless you. Thanks for being a part of the show today. We've got a great lineup for you. My first guest in just a moment is Mr. F. Lee Bailey. We're going to bring him on, introduce him, and get started right away. After that, Mike Shoesmith, the Executive Director of the PPSIMMONS News and Ministry Network. He'll be in the house. Dr. Grace Voto out of the Tribune, the World Tribune. Yeah, editor of Culture and Politics with World Tribune, and the president of the Edinburgh Institute of American Renewal out of Washington, D.C. She'll be in the house giving us her awesome commentary. In the meantime, let's go to the phone lines because we do have F. Lee Bailey with us today, as promised. Now F. Lee Bailey, many of you know, he's synonymous, truly, with excellence in defending clients, especially those who are in dire straits, particularly in murder cases. And there's a particularly famous murder case that most of you will remember him for. And in just a moment, I'm going to tell you one that you might not have remembered that he was involved in very famously. But Mr. Bailey, first, he served in the United States Marine Corps as a Saberjet pilot and a legal officer. And he went to Boston University, where he graduated at the top of his class in 1960. Now, his prominence as a young attorney was very firmly established by his successful appeal before the United States Supreme Court in the famous Sam Shepard murder case. Now, in case that name, to you, some of you younger folks, you younger listeners, in case that name doesn't ring a bell, Sam Shepard murder case, but in that case, Bailey argued that Shepard had been denied due process, which resulted in Shepard being retried and then finally acquitted. Now, Sam Shepard, some of you older folks will know, and you younger people will know the name of this TV show and the movie that was made about Sam Shepard's case, and of course F. Lee Bailey's involvement in that, and that's called The Fugitive TV series with David Jansen, and then of course the Hollywood movie with Harrison Ford, The Fugitive. And so F. Lee Bailey's involved in all of this stuff and much more, but probably he's most remembered for his effective cross-examination of Detective Mark Furman that eventually demolished the prosecution's credibility and led to a not guilty verdict for O.J. Simpson. That's F. Lee Bailey, and we have him right here on Freedom Friday today. Now, he's just recently co-authored a book entitled Excellence in Cross-Examination. He co-wrote that with Massachusetts Judge Kenneth J. Fishman, and we're going to ask Mr. Bailey about that book and so much more. Mr. Bailey, you with us today?
I am right here.
All right, fantastic. It's always good to know that the guest is on the line, and we're so happy that you're with us today. It's an honor to have you, Mr. Bailey, and been following your career for a long time. I spent 10 years in Florida law enforcement myself, and have a little bit, in Leon County and in Jefferson County with two different sheriff's offices. Yeah, deputy sheriff, and did some criminal investigations, et cetera, et cetera.
So, that's wonderful. I'm a big fan of cops, and I do a lot of lecturing for them.
Well, I know you do, and I've been a follower of yours and a fan of yours for many years as well. Excited about your new book, and I want you to tell us about that. But first, let me ask you, where can people, as we get started, the name of your new book is Excellence in Cross-Examination. Where can they find the book? Where can they get the book? And where can they review the book? And also tell them if you have a website where people can discover more information about you, Mr. Bailey.
I do have a website. There's not a segment on the book yet. It's Bailey and Elliott. My partner is Debbie Elliott, 2 L's, 2 T's.
Okay.
But the book has been reviewed a number of times. I think you'll find reviews on Amazon. I know you can buy the book there.
Okay.
You can buy it direct from West Publishing Company in Minneapolis, the biggest law book publisher in the world. But I think Amazon will save you a few bucks.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, tell us about that particular book, which is your newest book, Excellence in Cross-Examination. Tell us about it. I mean, who is your target audience there? Is that mainly for law students, or can a layperson get into it and enjoy it as well?
It is for law students, for young lawyers, for middle-aged lawyers, for mature lawyers, for witnesses, for experts. It's intended to reach a wide scope because it's cross-examination, ancient though it is still the main test ingredient for who wins and who loses lawsuits.
Right.
And so it's becoming a lost art. There hasn't been a notable book written on the subject since 1950, and I have long been an intense student and practitioner of cross-examination, and I said to my protege, now Judge Ken Fishman, with whom I've been writing law books for many years, it's time for the big one, and we think we've done it.
Yeah.
History will tell. This is not the bestseller that's going to deal. Lawyers have to read it, and they have to use it. If you follow it, it's a boot camp. You've got to do a lot of work to be a good cross-examiner.
Yeah.
And a few will emerge, but in order for that to happen, a lot have to try, and that's what we're hoping will inspire. For those who just like to be entertained, there are 7, I like to think, good representative cross-examinations in the book.
Uh-huh.
I have annotated all of them, giving my insights as to what the examiner was trying to do. And we have Roy Black, we've got Dick Sprague out of Philadelphia, maybe the greatest trial lawyer alive at age 87.
Wow.
I did 4 of them, and one of them is Dr. Sam Shepard's case. You were just mentioning.
Yeah, so that case is in this book.
The cross-examination of the coroner,
Right.
who made a complete fool of himself in the first trial, but was never challenged,
Uh-huh.
never cross-examined on the point. He said that he saw next to the victim's head on a pillow the imprint of a surgical instrument. Oh, what an awful thing to say when a doctor,
Right.
the surgeon, is the defendant, when he had no idea what it was. It was really a Rorschach imprint. But, of course, by the time the second trial rolled around, 12 years after the murder,
Right.
I had him by the short hair.
Right.
And although a less experienced fellow could have done him in, I've got to say I enjoyed it. Vengeance is mine, said the Lord.
Mr. Bailey, well, listen, given the stature of your presence, I would imagine this book may wind up a standard in law school and perhaps even in some law enforcement academies in years to come. What do you think?
Interesting you should mention that. I lecture regularly for the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I lectured, they ordered 50 copies.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine, given what this book is about and the amazing information in it and your stellar presence and career through the years, and I can't imagine that it will not be used. Who would not?
Now, there's a little C-story I want to throw in because I heard you open with reference to the Shepard case and The Fugitive.
Yes.
There was, by the way, a movie made called The Shepard Case starring George Peppard.
Wow.
But it didn't enjoy the audience of Fugitive. However, when I went to pick a jury in Cleveland in 1966, having reversed the conviction and got the U.S. Supreme Court to rule, yes, indeed, he was entitled to a new trial, most of the jurors watched The Fugitive starring David Jansen.
Right.
The movie wasn't made till later. And everybody knew that the fugitive was innocent because they told you so.
That's right.
So for the perhaps only time in my life, I picked a jury in a criminal case, mostly of people who presumed the defendant was innocent because the fugitive was.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's got to do something for you. Well, listen, Mr. Bailey, let me just. Gosh, there's so many things. I want to ask you about the O.J. Simpson case in a moment. Also, there's a lot going on about this. Paul McCartney is dead in the mock trial, and that you were involved in, and how that started an urban legend. And I want to talk about that. Plus, didn't you also write a book, How to Protect Yourself Against Cops in California and Other Strange Places?
Yes, I did. I got pulled over for driving while impaired, which I was not. So I got acquitted very quickly, and then to punish the evildoers involved, including the cop, the prosecutor, and others, I wrote a book.
Oh my gosh, I want to hear about that too. We're going to take our first and only time out here, and so let's take about a couple-minute time out. We're going to be back with Mr. F. Lee Bailey, the lawyer in the O.J. Simpson case. You're listening to Freedom Friday. Carl Gallup's your host every Friday. Brandon Gallup's your co-host in the house. We'll be back in just a moment.
Chuck Sandler loves a good challenge, and he faced a huge one trying to build his company, Energy Savers of Florida, while simultaneously serving alternate military tours of duty in the Middle East. He had to fight through a lengthy downturn in the economy and other obstacles, but with patience, perseverance, a lot of hard work, and dogged determination, Chuck has prevailed, and today Energy Savers of Florida is continuing to meet the challenge. It's one reason I've been a loyal customer for a dozen years. Make Energy Savers of Florida your heating and cooling company. They'll save you money, and they'll be there when you need them. Energy Savers of Florida, ready to go to work at your home or your business in Santa Rosa or Escambia counties in Florida or in South Alabama. You can call them toll-free, 1-800-227-3724, or visit their website, EnergySaversOfFlorida.com.
David's Catfish House is the best catfish you'll ever have, but there's a lot more on the menu. You can get a hand-cut choice ribeye steak cooked just the way you like it. We have shrimp, oysters, chicken, burgers, and salads too. If you want a lot of variety on your plate, get the seafood platter of catfish, stuffed crab, boiled shrimp, fried shrimp, oysters, and onion rings. That'll fill you up. Come see why area residents voted David's Catfish House the best of the Bay for 4 years in a row. David's Catfish House, open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 9, on Dogwood Drive near the Milton Post Office.
Tired of dating cars, gut shipped or pain? Want to get the best value, service, and quality for your dollar? Then come see us at the Paint Mart, the local Benjamin Moore paint store. We'll solve all paint problems. Come see me, Lynn Schrader, and I can help you pick the best colors for your project. Remember, paint smart with Paint Mart, located at 2525 West Fairfield. Bring some color into your life, one coat at a time with Paint Mart.
Hello, this is Mary Young with Howard Young Flooring. When you enter our showroom, Howard and I want to make sure you receive the time and attention needed to find the right carpet, tile, hardwood, laminate, or resilient flooring needed for your project. Our job is not to sell to you, but to educate you so that you can make knowledgeable decisions with confidence. People you can trust, products you can afford, and quality installations. At Howard Young Flooring, we look forward to covering your future.
Now, back to your turn on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
Welcome back to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. Sit down, buckle up, and hang on.
All right, welcome back, Gulf Coast. Welcome back, America. Carl Gallups live. Brandon Gallups, co-host, and Mallory Bardwell, our world-famous producer. She's in the house as well. We're going to go right back to the phone because my guest this afternoon is the famous Mr. F. Lee Bailey. Of course, most of you know him as the trial lawyer for the O.J. Simpson case. He was O.J. Simpson's lawyer, his defending attorney, of course, and he was the attorney in the Sam Shepard case, of which the movie The Fugitive was made. Mr. Bailey, thank you so much for being on the show today. We've got so much more to talk about. You and I were just talking off the air. Tell folks where they can find some really good information about the O.J. Simpson case, and then I want you to explain to our audience why you still think that he is innocent and that whole trial was a blight, a shame upon America's legal system.
It was a shame on the legal system, but more on the press. It was just covered by a bunch of inexperienced, I don't care, jump to conclusions people. There was one solid reporter there named Linda Deutsch, who's the senior reporter for the Associated Press. She did her usual beautiful job. She is about to write a major article about the 20-year anniversary of O.J. Simpson to try to explain in a few seconds why O.J. didn't do it would be unfair to everybody.
Yeah.
I have written a 17,000-word synopsis
Okay.
of what I know about the case. It is irrefutable. It's not my side of the case. It comes from the records. It's on my website, BaileyandElliott.com, and I invite people to read it. But basically, O.J. couldn't have done it. That is, he didn't have the opportunity. He wouldn't have done it. He had no motive, and his demeanor at no time before or after he learned of the murder was in any way consistent with a guy who had committed a violent crime for only once in his life.
Right, right. Let me ask you, now, the anniversary of that event was, it's 20 years next month, right? 20 years ago, Mr. Bailey. Good gracious.
June 12th, 2 days after I turned 81.
Unbelievable. 20 years ago. I mean, good gracious, I was 38 years old. It's just astounding to me how quickly time flies. Let me ask you, 20 years ago was, and you'll have to refresh my memory because I've been out of law enforcement for 30 years, 20 years ago, was DNA evidence available much? Was it being used in trials much? I don't think it was it?
Oh, yes.
Was it 20 years ago?
It was featured in the O.J. Simpson case, and we conceded some of it, but most of it was contaminated by poor police procedures, and that which was not disputed didn't really mean anything. O.J.'s blood was found where you might expect to find O.J.'s blood, but none was found that would implicate him in the crime, at least none that was reliable.
Right, I see. Okay. So again, and before we move on to a couple of other topics here very quickly, again, people can find, I mean, you've written a 17,000-word synopsis of all of this, and they can find that at BaileyandElliott.com. BaileyandElliott.com, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, is it easy to find? Is there a link to it, or is it right on the front page? How can they find it?
Just go to Google.
Okay. All right. BaileyandElliott.com, folks, and you can find that. Well, of course, my guest this afternoon is F. Lee Bailey. Mr. Bailey, tell us about this, the Paul McCartney is dead, the mock trial you did, and how that urban legend got started. You know, I was reading, before I even knew you were going to be on my show, a couple of weeks ago I was on the internet reading something about that, was blown away by that urban legend, and now, of course, I found out that you're very involved in that. Tell folks about that.
Well, it's an odd story, but, you know, in any profession with a lot of tension in it, both flying and trying cases, and I have done a lot of both. If you don't have a sense of humor, you'll either go nuts or make a mistake and kill yourself or somebody else.
Right.
I made great friends with the producers of the Mike Douglas show in Cleveland when I had Shepard case. One of those, Woody Frazier, called me. He said, Lee, I'm going to start a new show for Good Morning America. I'd like you to be one of the stars, and we're going to have a baseball player who was named David Hartman as the lead. And ABC was 8 out of 3 networks at that point. But and Dr. Tim, who was still on it, by the way.
Right.
And when we got it rolling, and it took off, it became number 1 within a very few years. Willie, who had a pocket sense of humor, said, Lee, someone is playing the record, Dr. Pepper.
Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Like that.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper, yeah.
And they're playing it back.
Sergeant Pepper,
One of the grooves, Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah.
One of the grooves, it sounds like someone is saying, Paul is dead.
Right, I remember that.
So I'd like to do a little TV show, obviously it's spoofed, and see whether you as a lawyer find any convincing evidence that Paul is dead.
Right.
And that's how this whole thing arose.
Right.
Of course, Paul wasn't dead. At the end of the show, I said, there's no evidence that he's dead, but the anomaly of the backwards soundtrack really had people set off, and it was fun.
Right. Well, and of course, people are still debating all of that today.
Mm-hmm.
All these years later. Absolutely amazing.
You know, people will reinvent things over and over again because they don't have enough to do. People reinvented the Boston Strangler 20 times until we DNA'd it.
Well, you're right. Listen, you're such a colorful figure with so many years of experience, and you're in your 80s and still going strong. And I was asking you off the air if you were going to publish a memoirs book, and you said that's coming up next, right?
Well, it's coming up after a long while. I've got a long way to go. And as long as I get up in the morning and am in the mood to kick ass and take names, I don't have to start writing that book.
Well, please get some stuff down just in case. I mean, you know, a semi-truck could run a stop sign tomorrow. Not wishing anything bad, but that could happen to any of us. But get something down, because I tell you what, there are a lot of people that would love to read that book, myself included. Well, we've only got really about a minute and a half, but tell folks, well, since we have such a large Gulf Coast audience, and we are the strongest Gulf Coast radio station between Tampa and New Orleans, 25,000 watts. We broadcast to 4 states. Tell people about your U.S. Marine and Naval aviator career right here on the Gulf Coast.
When I was 18, I enlisted in the Navy and applied for naval flight training and was admitted to Pensacola. I had 2 years of college at the time. It was a 4-year contract. The most fascinating personal building and dangerous time of my life. I found out years later, reading a book by Tom Wolfe, that the naval flight training is more likely to kill you than combat or almost anything else.
I can imagine.
I'm going to tell you, the parachute was puckered every now and then. But landing on a carrier at Pensacola, and that's the last thing I did before I got my wings, was to fly a World War II helicopter to a carrier. I had a ball. I was king of the world, cock of the walk, and I think that naval aviation is the best in the world.
And listen, I agree with you. One of the past commanders of Whiting Field is a member of the church that I pastor and a dear friend of mine. In fact, he's getting ready to take a group from our church on a tour of the Naval Aviation Museum at NAS, and he's going to guide the tour himself, and I can't wait until that happens. He's in his early 80s as well, so that'll be fascinating.
Well, 25 years after I got my wings, I pinned a set of wings on my son at Whiting Field, and he went almost immediately to the Persian Gulf.
Wow, congratulations. That is amazing. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your son's service. Thank you for your appearance today on Freedom Friday. Mr. Bailey, we'd love to have you back in the future if you're up to it.
You've got a great show. It's a delight to be here.
Okay, well, good deal, and God bless you. And folks, that's F. Lee Bailey. We will have him back, O.J. Simpson's lawyer. Go to his website, BaileyandElliott.com, BaileyandElliott.com. Check him out there, particularly that 17,000-word synopsis of the O.J. Simpson trial. It might rack your brain and change your mind about that whole thing. Check out his new book, Excellence in Cross-Examination. Excellence in Cross-Examination. And then you might want to look at his book that he did before, How to Protect Yourself Against Cops in California and Other Strange Places. Freedom Friday. We'll be back in a moment. Brandon Gallup's in the house.
NBC News Radio. I'm Marlis Majerus. An American team is on the ground in Nigeria helping the government search for nearly 300 girls kidnapped from their school by an Islamic terror group. Pentagon spokesman Rear Admiral John Kirby.
We're not talking about U.S. military operations in Nigeria to go find these girls. That's not the focus here. The focus is sending subject matter experts that can help advise and assist.
Embattled Veterans Affairs Secretary Eric Shinseki will testify before Congress next week on allegations his department covered up treatment delays for patients who died while waiting for care at a VA hospital in Phoenix. White House spokesman Jay Carney says the president still supports the secretary.
The president has confidence in Secretary Shinseki, who has launched a broad investigation into this matter and asked the independent Inspector General at Veterans Affairs to investigate.
Stocks gained ground on Wall Street. The Dow added 32 points. This is NBC News Radio.
He shoots for the win. He scores! Every fan dreams of this moment. But you're not just a fan. No, you're a face paint wearing, foam finger waving fanatic. Driving to every game, you were there. And on the road to victory, we energized your journey. At Exxon and Mobil stations, our quality gasolines help engines run smoother and help improve fuel economy, powering more great moments along the way. Like this one. Exxon and Mobil. Energy lives here. At Exxon.com and Mobil.com for more details.
I'm standing on a ledge high in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I swear I can see forever. Green in the spring, dazzling colors come fall. Part of why I'm here is to preserve this. I am 1 mile of CSX railroad track. There are 21,000 more like me. Together, we help trains move a ton of freight nearly 450 miles on 1 gallon of fuel. Tomorrow is full of promise. Let's keep it that way. CSX, how tomorrow moves.
Suffering from allergy congestion?
On my nature walks, I couldn't smell the flowers or breathe in the fresh spring air. Then I discovered Allegra D.
Allegra D decongests and depressurizes with a fast, non-drowsy antihistamine, plus a powerful decongestant for 24 hours of congestion-free breathing.
Now I don't just appreciate nature, I breathe it all in.
Allegra D. Stop suffering. Start breathing. Look for Allegra D at the pharmacy counter. Starts working in 1 hour. Use only as directed. Visit Allegra.com.
We keep hearing about an economic recovery, but for many folks, times are still kind of tough. Well, at Red Wing Shoes, we're here to help. Bring your old boots into a Red Wing shoe store and we'll oil them up and replace the laces for free. In fact, we'd be happy to do that for you, even if your boots are another brand. So, come on in. Let us help keep you and your boots on the job. Red Wing Shoes. Work is our work.
Save money with low prices every day at Grocery Outlet. Quality meats, produce, and more. Prices are always low at Grocery Outlet because we sell at our cost plus a 10% surcharge added at the register. Save money with low prices every day, plus this week's specials, like the whole boneless New York strip loins, $3.19 a pound, and they'll slice them for free. Fryer leg quarters, a 10-pound bag is only $7.21. Roger Wood regular or Polish smoked sausages, 24-ounce pack is $2.52. Landerfrost thin-sliced ham or turkey, a 1-pound pack is $2.67. Bar S Jumbo Franks, a 1-pound package is 69 cents. Gwaltney regular or thick-sliced bologna, a 1-pound pack is 69 cents. And Jumbo Vidalia onions, 61 cents a pound. You can get low prices on these items and more at Grocery Outlet, with locations at Highway 90 in Pace, at Fairfield Drive at Lillian Highway in Pensacola, and Brent Lane and Power Fox in Pensacola. Grocery Outlet, nothing fancy, just cheap prices. When you or a loved one are looking for an assisted living facility that feels like home, try Sable House Assisted Living Facility in Pensacola. At Sable House, you experience community living with a personal touch, including cable TV in every room, meals and snacks that keep your dietary needs in mind, laundry and housekeeping services, and transportation. Go by and see them at 150 Crossville Street off 9 Mile Road by the Milestone Community, or call them at 850-477-1312. That's Sable House Assisted Living, a caring community.
Now, back to your turn on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
A distinguished author, radio host, and pastor. I want you to welcome to Atlanta Live, Carl Gallups.
The author of the #1 bestseller, The Magic Man in the Sky. Please welcome from Milton, Florida, Carl Gallups to praise the Lord.
And there are just all kinds of things to talk about in regards and in connection to this this issue. Nobody can do that better than my good friend from the state of Florida, Reverend Carl Gallups.
Hello, friends. Welcome to In the Market with Janet Parshall. Our conversation this hour is going to emanate from a book called The Magic Man in the Sky. And Carl Gallups is the author of the book.
From coast to coast and around the world. On television and radio, Carl is in demand, but you have him to yourself. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, 1330 WEBY, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio. All right, welcome back, Gulf Coast. Welcome back, America. Carl Gallups in the house, and Brandon Gallups, Brandon Big B, our co-host. He's here in the studio with us today. It's always good to have him. Mallory Bardwell, she's in the house and in the studio, and our world-famous program producer. You can watch us on Ustream, and if you do have a Ustream connection, every now and then you'll see Brandon and we'll see us don our tinfoil hats, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I've been accused. Yeah. So I figure, why not just take the bait here, man? I mean, here we go. I've got it on, brother.
Right,
How deep you want to go?
I got it too. Well, with these we can go deep because, see, this way they can't get to our brains.
The NSA isn't listening right now.
That's right.
I've got their signal blocked out. So, and I watched Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson last night, so now I know all the tricks.
And you know what? You and I were talking about that. How long has it been since that show was shown?
That movie was made in '97.
Yes.
And if you don't believe they hide stuff in plain sight, you go back and watch that movie.
Yes, and you're going to do an expose on that very soon, right?
We're going to talk about some fine details from that movie very soon. Things that have come to light that were actually being exposed in '97 when Hollywood, Satan's playground, releases this movie.
That's right. And the internet was just dawning back in those days. Very few people had really good internet connections. There were not, all the websites that are out there now were not there. It was just really kind of getting kicked off.
Yeah.
So, and so that movie shows us how it was done pre-internet days.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does. And I'm telling you that it's just amazing how blatantly things have been put in our face over the years. But, you know, like back then, like you say, I mean, you had to be reading 20, 30 newspapers a day to find something.
Right.
And now I can jump on any search engine and hit a button, and I can tell you pretty much anything.
With a cup of coffee in 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes and a cup of coffee, you can have it all. Mel Gibson was having to read and scour through 30 newspapers.
And if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
Well,
So,
yes,
absolutely.
They can't put it on the internet if it's not true. It's illegal. Somewhere that's illegal.
Yeah, somewhere, I don't know where.
But anyway, if you want to tune in to Ustream and watch us here in the studio, that's always a trip, and a lot of people do that. I've got my tinfoil hat still on right now. I look good.
It's
good.
It's quite fitting. Yeah,
it does. Quite fitting. That's funny.
I've heard some rumors.
I know. Folks, here's how you get to it. Go to carlgallops.com, carlgallops.com, and right under my picture, you'll see the link to the Ustream. Just click on it, and boom, we're there. We're live. We're rolling live right now. And, of course, at carlgallops.com, you can also find our podcast. You can find 3 listen live links over the internet for those of you that are on the way home right now in your car, and you say, when I get home, I'm going to be in my office at home, or, you know, I want to watch him, or I want to hear through the internet. That's what you do. Just go to carlgallops.com. You'll find everything you need to know about me, the show, the videos, PPSIMMONS, the books, the movies that I'm involved in, all of that right there, carlgallops.com. The church that I pastor, it's all there. All right, fantastic. Well, listen, we've got Mike Shoesmith on the line. Mike was in the house with us last week, and so, but today he's still in the house, but he's here by phone. Mike, you with us, my man?
Hey, have either of you guys heard from Home and Garden Television yet about that show that we're supposed to be starting next month there?
I got a cancellation.
Show.
I got a cancellation letter in the mail. I don't know about you, but
I don't know. They're not returning my emails anymore. They're not answering my calls. I don't know. We put all that effort into putting together that great home improvement show, and now they just don't want us anymore. What do you think's wrong with that?
Well, I think that it came out. I think it came out that you were a closet Christian. I mean, I think that's what happened. Yeah.
There's nothing closet about my Christianity, brother. There's nothing closet about yours either, I don't think.
No, sir. No, sir.
Well, you know, there's nothing closet about the Benham brothers' Christianity either. By the way, that's of course people will know that we're just joking. We're actually referring to these two guys who what's been all over the news today. Home and Garden TV. They canceled a Flip It Forward show, which was put together by these two guys. Their last name's Benham. And they've been on the news today talking about how Home and Garden TV was bullied by the homosexual community in order to there's a lot of talk about the Home and Garden TV being their base viewership is the gay community. By the way, apparently the gays, they like to watch Home and Garden TV, and it was so offensive to them that two Christians it wasn't a Christian show. They were teaching people how to flip a house.
Right.
I mean, Brandon, you know all about that, what that takes, and these guys are doing a great job. It was a great show. They made a lot of money personally in their lives doing it, so they put together this show to teach people how to do it themselves, how to do it properly.
Yeah.
And that's what the show was about. They weren't proselytizing anybody, and yet word got out that they were against homosexual marriage, same-sex marriage, and their show was canceled. I mean, that...
Well, Mike, I was going to say, I think that even bigger than that, I think it came out that their father has been very actively involved in spreading the message that I think we might have talked about this last week, that America may be doomed or may be falling under God's judgment because of its embracing of homosexuality and its embracing of abortion.
Their daddy was saying that?
Their daddy said
you mean a son can get in trouble for what his father says nowadays?
I'm in a mess.
You just need to go get a blue uniform, check yourself in. Good gracious.
Yeah.
Listen, I heard these two guys interviewed today, and they're not shy about it either. I mean, they came out and just openly proclaimed their faith in Jesus Christ, and that even though they're not against the people themselves, they are against the activity, and they have every right to be against that activity. It's their First Amendment right, and so that they weren't slamming the Home and Garden TV. They hope that perhaps in the future things will work out for them. But But earlier this week I was scanning through the satellite radio channels, Carl and Brandon, and I stumbled upon this voice, Larry King. You remember Larry King?
Is he still alive? I mean, Larry King, is he still around?
He's in his 80s now, and I thought, well, I wonder if Larry King got his own channel on Sirius here, but no, he was actually being interviewed by Howard Stern. There's a guy swimming. There's a guy swimming around in the shallow end of the pool, eh? If you know anything about the if you know anything about the history of Howard Stern, you'll know why he acts the way he does. I mean,
well, he's been diagnosed. I'm sorry, we've got a delay here. It's so hard to talk that way. I'm sorry, but anyway, he's got hasn't he been diagnosed with is it called agoraphobia?
Yes.
The fear of crowds, the fear of being in places where there are lots of folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's quite open about that. He just Larry King actually asked him about that, and his response was, "I'm afraid. I'm just afraid all the time about everything."
Wow. Well,
and he doesn't go to any lengths to hide that. But the interview turned to you guys remember Jerry Falwell, right? The guy who founded the moral majority movement.
Oh yeah, remember him?
Yeah, the interview turned to him because Larry King actually interviewed Falwell and his views on homosexuality. And when Larry King asked him about it, Falwell said, "Well, it's unnatural." And then an intense discussion ensued between Stern and King. And King likened same-sex attraction, the opposition to it, he likened that to racism, right?
Yeah, that's an idiotic comparison. Mike, that's an absolutely idiotic comparison, but it's used by the left all the time. Go ahead.
Well, it is, and I think that the minority communities out there, the blacks, Hispanics, whomever, should be outraged at this.
Yeah.
Because
most of them are.
If you take a deep look at this and you go, okay, they're saying that blacks can't choose their racial identity, right? It's an ethnic issue. It's their heritage. Your heritage is what you're born with, and they're born with their skin color. We all are, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look and all you have to do is look at your arm, and you know what your skin color is, what your ethnic origin is. I'm a white man. If you want to know whether you're a white man or a black man, just lift up your arm, lift up your shirt, and take a look at your skin. Look at yourself.
Look at your hand. Yeah.
Look at your hand. That's difficult when you look at some of the pictures of Barack Obama to tell who's what color and what, but we'll go there today. But yeah, I mean, and if you struggle with that, with lifting your hand, look in a mirror. Right, there's option number 2, get a mirror. And look in a mirror. If you're blind, ask somebody. They'll tell you, right? My point here is that it's obvious, right?
Right.
You know what else is obvious? The man or woman parts that you're born with. That is your heritage. You are born with these certain body parts, right?
Right.
And all you have to do is look at yourself, and you know what you are. Are you a man? How do you know? Well, I look at myself. I know that I'm a man, right? If you're a woman, how do you tell you're a woman? You look at yourself. And the point here is, this whole thing gets turned 180 degrees around, and you go, wait a minute. Looking at the oppression of black people around the world, it's actually akin to opposition to the opposition of same-sex marriage.
Right.
If you are bashing people like the Benhams, like the guy, one of the founders of Mozilla, one of the executives of Mozilla, who was forced to leave his job as executive at Mozilla. Mozilla is the creator of Firefox, by the way. He was forced to leave recently because of his support for Prop 8.
Yeah.
All he did was support this, and he was forced to leave his position at Mozilla.
Right.
If those of us who are being persecuted, I want to say persecuted, it's not a great persecution, but still we have people losing financial reward in life. They're losing dignity based on their opposition to same-sex marriage, to the homosexual lifestyle. It is actually the Benham brothers who can more relate to the assault against the black community, because we are looking at the human body saying, you were born this way. You were born a man.
Right. And
you're acting like a man.
That's right. And let's remember that this whole homosexual marriage agenda, this whole radical homosexual agenda. And I use the word radical because if a person wants to live the homosexual lifestyle behind their closed doors, that's okay. I mean, it's between them and God. I mean, I personally think they're going to be in a mess when they wind up before their Creator, according to His Word. But, if they disagree, then they can deal with the Lord on that. But the government has no business looking in their windows. The church has no business looking in their windows. The preacher, me, I don't want to look in their windows. But when you drag it in the street and tell me I've got to like it, I've got to celebrate it, I have to finance it, and I have to celebrate it in every avenue of our culture, that's where I draw the line. And it is abnormal. It is not natural. The Bible says it's perverse. I come from a biblical worldview. I'm unashamed to say that. And so the thing is, they claim that all they want is tolerance, yet they refuse to give it to anyone else.
That's right. There's two important points I want to make here. Number one, I'm going to say it because Mike won't say it about himself. Go to PPSIMMONS.blogspot.com and read his whole article that he wrote on this subject and about this conversation that he heard, because it's excellent.
Okay,
and it's very thought-provoking.
Good.
So PPSIMMONS.blogspot.com, and I think it's still the top article there. But check that out. The second thing is this. I have a friend who was very active in the civil rights movement in the 60s.
Yes, I know.
And as soon as Mike sent me this article, I called him. And I said, hey, I'm sending you something right now. Check it out, and let's talk about it.
Right. This guy went to prison for his activity in the civil rights movement.
Now listen, he was blown away by Mike's insights, as well as he the week prior, had this same conversation with two other people that he calls friends that use this and said that the homosexual fight they liken it to the civil rights movement, and he blasted them for it.
Yeah.
Now this is someone who has fought the fight.
And he's a black man.
Fighting. He is a black man. Yeah. Yes, he is. And the only reason I'm not using his name is because I didn't ask him permission, but he wouldn't care.
Right.
But he is still fighting the fight. For humanity, not for black people, but for human beings.
Right. And he's a for real guy.
And he is for real. He's the real deal.
Yeah.
And he agrees 100% with the points that Mike made in here, that it is despicable to liken this movement and this agenda to the civil rights movement.
Folks, go read Mike Shoesmith's article. We got to take a time out, and we're going to come back with more of Mike Shoesmith. You can get there. The easiest way is carlgallops.com. Up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see it, PP Simmons Blogspot. Just catch it there. Or, what did you say it was?
PPSIMMONS.blogspot.com.
PPSIMMONS.blogspot.com. Right now, you're listening to Freedom.Friday.Carl.Gallops. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops. And in the house, my co-host, Brandon Big B, Mallory Barwell, world-famous producer. We'll be right back.
If your home has been damaged by the recent floods, we are here to help. This is Bill with Sanborn Builders. You're used to hearing my ads offering to help you save on your insurance premiums via wind mitigation inspections. And now we're here to help you rebuild your home. Sanborn Builders has been building the finest quality custom homes and commercial buildings in our area for many years. We have extensive experience working with insurance claims, including the reconstruction of countless homes after Hurricanes Ivan and Dennis, and most notably, the renovation of the Imogene Theater after the fire in downtown Milton. We are committed to providing you with exceptional quality and realize that you deserve a home built better than it was before. To ease your worries and for the best in quality and service, please check us out on Facebook and give Sanborn Builders a call at 623-9409. 623-9409. That's Sanborn Builders, 623-9409.
If you're injured in a serious accident, consider hiring a board-certified lawyer designated as an expert in civil trial law by the Florida Bar. We'd be pleased to discuss your case with you at no cost. At Kerrigan, Estes, Rankin, McLeod & Thompson, we have no associates, so you'll be represented by a partner that's a Florida Bar board-certified expert in civil trial law. Kerrigan, Estes, Rankin, McLeod & Thompson. In Pensacola, 444-4444, and on the web at Kerrigan.com.
It's a common problem these days. We're so busy we don't have time to prepare good meals for dinner. Too often that means we grab some unhealthy fast food grub. Well, there's a much better way. Cajun Specialty Meats. The Broussard brothers at Cajun Specialty Meats have a huge selection of ready-to-cook dinners. Stuffed boneless chicken, stuffed ribeye steak, stuffed pork chops, stuffed chicken breast, and a whole lot more. Just throw it in the oven and in a little over an hour it's ready to eat. Cajun Specialty Meats on Heinberg Street behind McGuire's in Pensacola. Tonight, make it easy, make it delicious, make it Cajun Specialty Meats.
Wondering where to turn for information on natural health? Then look no further than the Alternative Health Food Store. The Alternative Health Food Store has an educated staff that can help you with assessing your nutritional needs to giving birthing and lactation advice. There's a wide selection of vitamins and supplements along with gluten-free items and local honey. We have been locally owned and operated since 1997, and by supporting your locally owned businesses, what you spend stays right in our community. Stop by the store in Highway 90 in Pea Ridge. Look for us on the web at alternativehealthfoodstore.com or give us a call at 994-3606.
Now, back to your turn on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
Aren't you glad that you patiently waited? Carl is back. He is in the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio, and you are with him. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops.
Well, folks, welcome back to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops. This is your co-host, Brandon Gallops, and thank you so much for listening and being part of the show this afternoon. We have back on the line with us right now Mike Shoesmith. And Mike, I know you and I have talked quite a bit this week, and I know that since last week's show, where the three of us addressed the correlation between John Kerry's comments, negative comments towards Israel, and basically telling them how they need to act and they need to make peace with Palestine, the Palestinians, and then immediately following that, starting that same night, and then for the next 48 hours, we see a string of terrible weather, deaths across the United States. This has been documented time and time again over the years.
I've got my tinfoil hat on right
yes,
now.
Yeah, very appropriately, we have our tinfoil hats on, but I know that you have gotten a lot of hate mail at PPSIMMONS. We're crazy, and particularly that we are Zionist. So could you just please tell us what that means and if we are, in fact, Zionist?
Yeah, listen, people have been sending me a lot of email concerning last week's show and say, Christians died in the horrible weather events, and how dare you suggest that God is killing Christians using tornadoes, etc. Listen, first of all, I am not saying that God is killing anybody. What I'm saying is this, and I said this last week, perhaps I didn't say it clearly enough, that after the flood, what you see around you, the majesty around you, like the Grand Canyon, is a byproduct of God's judgment on the earth. Now, if you stand too closely to the edge of the Grand Canyon and fall in, that does not mean, now, even if you're a Christian and do that, that does not mean God pushed you. That means that you fell into a canyon and died. The canyon is there. It stands as a monument to the flood.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. The flood was God's judgment. Now, in ancient times, God made a pronouncement. He said, if you curse Israel, there's a curse on you. If you bless Israel, there's a blessing on you. Specifically Jerusalem, by the way, Psalm 122. So all we're saying is that is in place. And this is a national issue. And Christians, every nation has the government it deserves. Don't forget that Obama and Kerry, and these people are all in office because of an election, folks.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but they represent who we are. Obama is an abortion-loving, homosexual marriage-loving, military-hating, authority-hating, Constitution-hating person, and he's a syncretist, and many Americans reflect that. Yes. Yeah. So go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Well said. No, and all we're saying is that we're not saying that God is doing these things. We're saying that there are certain dynamics in place, and when we ignore those dynamics, God is not mocked.
Yeah.
Whatever a man, country, whatever group sows, they will also reap that. And the Bible says, precious in the sight of the Lord are the deaths of his saints. God, even though God is not killing these people, God is looking after them, folks. I mean, God is not silent concerning his people. And by the way, that is our stance on that issue. That God is not going around killing people, but there are certain dynamics in play which causes judgment and death.
Right.
And these dynamics were put into place hundreds and thousands of years ago.
Well, Mike,
go ahead.
Guy, I'm sorry. Again, Mike, your illustration of the Grand Canyon was brilliant. Another illustration I use that's similar is when you give your child a bicycle at a young age, and you say you can ride anywhere on our property, anywhere on the sidewalk you want, don't ride in the street or you could get hurt. Yes, Daddy, yes, Daddy, yes, Daddy. And months go by and they obey the rules, but one day they ride in the street, a car hits them, they're crippled for the rest of their life, and then they look at Daddy and say, it's your fault for giving me the bike.
Right. Right, exactly. That's a great illustration also.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, it was not, Daddy didn't put him there. Daddy gave him the bike to bless him, but he told him, if you go in the street, you'll be cursed. I will not shove you in front of a car, but you will be cursed.
I think it's also important.
That's right.
I think it's also important that you can draw a distinction between I support Israel.
Right.
I can support Israel. I can support their right to exist.
Right.
I can support that Israel is God's chosen people, but I do not have to support the politics and the corrupt New World Order globalist pigs that run Israel just like run our country.
Absolutely.
There is a 100% difference. I no more support the globalist leadership of Israel than I support the criminals that have taken over the United States.
And when people ask me, are you a Zionist? You one of those Zionists? I say absolutely, unashamedly. Why? Because God was the first Zionist. He was the first one to use the word. It's in his word, the Bible. It distinctly defines Zion as the place where Jerusalem is, where Israel is, and it's also a picture of heaven. It's synonymous and a symbol of heaven itself. And so am I a Zionist? Do I protect the right of the nation of Israel to exist, a 2,500-year-old prophecy that has come to life in our lifetime,
yes.
whom God says that he blesses and he curses depending upon what you do with them? Am I a Zionist in that sense? Yes, I am. I do not apologize for it before anyone.
So, and the word Zionist mentioned 161 times in the Bible. God is a Zionist. I am a Zionist. And when you write me and lambaste me for being a Zionist, you have just lost all credibility with me, and your emails go virtually ignored because you got to get the Zionism thing right, and then talk to me about everything else.
Absolutely. Mike, tell people where they can find you. The music's playing.
PPSIMMONS@live.com is my email address. There's people monitoring that 24/7. I love you guys. I miss Florida. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay, see you, Mike. That was Mike Shoesmith, Executive Director of PP Simmons News and Ministry Network. Brandon Big B is in the house. Mallory Bardwell's in the house. Carl Gallup's your host on this Freedom Friday. We'll be right back with Dr. Grace, your phone calls, and Mr. B, Big B, and his commentary.
Thank you for calling Mail Order Computers. Press 1 if you wish to hold for 2 hours before we drop your call. Press 2 if you wish non-English support.
Excuse me. Better yet, why not hang up now and dial 983-2270 for local service and support at Panther Computers.
Hello, this is Joe Potter at Panther Computers. You say that your computer is slow, locking up, and the pop-ups are driving you up a wall? Well, don't use your PC as a boat anchor, for a doorstop, or target practice just yet. Panther Computers will tune up your computer, removing the viruses, spyware, and unwanted clutter. We include 2 years of antivirus and other Panther utilities to maximize your protection, and even clean out the dust, wipe down the case, and get all of your updates while leaving your valuable files intact. See, at Panther Computers, 3 blocks north of Milton High School, we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We fix the problem. So come by or call 983-2270 and ask for the WBY tune-up special this week and get $25 off the regular price. That's right, call 983-2270 and you too will see that nothing beats a Panther.
1330 WEBY, Milton, Pensacola, North Breeze, Northwest Florida's talk radio.
NBC News Radio, I'm Marlis Majerus. President Obama says he has full confidence in his embattled Veterans Affairs Secretary, Eric Shinseki. White House spokesman Jay Carney says the department is investigating allegations of treatment delays for patients who died while waiting for care at a VA hospital in Phoenix.
General Shinseki, who is himself a veteran and a West Point graduate, is keenly focused on fixing the problems that exist at the Veterans Affairs Department.
At a town hall meeting in Arizona today, Senator John McCain said he wants a full accounting.
If these allegations are true or a violation of law, and it's not a matter of resignations, it's a matter of whether somebody goes to jail or not.
Chrysler is recalling 780,000 minivans to replace window switches that can short-circuit if they get wet. The recall involves 2010 through 2014 Dodge Grand Caravan and Chrysler Town & Country minivans. This is NBC News Radio. With Mother's Day almost here, South Dakota's moms deserve special recognition. NBC News Radio's John Stillness explains why.
Nearly 8 in 10 moms in South Dakota are working moms, the highest percentage of any state in the country. That's according to a new analysis by Ancestry.com, which found South Dakota's robust economy with an unemployment rate of just 3.7% and a bustling tourism business have meant the state is flush with jobs. Number 2 is their neighbor, North Dakota, which has the lowest jobless rate in the country at 2.6%. Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska round out the top 5. The state with the lowest share of working moms is also the state with the highest unemployment rate, West Virginia.
First Lady Michelle Obama will deliver the president's weekly address tomorrow. She'll focus on Mother's Day and the nearly 300 girls still missing in Nigeria after being kidnapped by an Islamic terror group more than 3 weeks ago. A U.S. team is in that country prepared to help in the search. I'm Marlis Majerus, NBC News Radio.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and nearly 3 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then, we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure it's both simple and easy. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call, and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. To learn more, call 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
Important terms and conditions apply. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. MLS number 3030.
Wall Street made some history during the day. The Dow Industrials closed at a new all-time high. That after rising 32 points. The Nasdaq added 20 and the S&P 500 rose 3 points. Despite the day's win, only the Dow was a winner for the week, tacking on almost 0.5%. The Nasdaq retreated for the 5th time in the past 7 weeks, this time losing 1%. The S&P was off a fraction during the week. Ford is recalling nearly 700,000 Escape SUVs and C-Max hybrids in the 2013 and 2014 model years to fix 2 problems. One involves airbags and the other involves an issue with the door handle latch. And Chrysler is recalling 780,000 Grand Caravan and Town and Country minivans to replace window switches that can overheat. I'm Steve Ward from the newsroom at MarketWatch.com.
All right, it's plugged in. Does the phone work?
Phone doesn't work.
Doesn't work?
Even the internet doesn't work.
We have a presentation tomorrow. We've got to get it to work.
You want to try and get it to work?
Don't we have a local rep who can get it to work?
They don't work like that.
Is your communications vendor leaving you high and dry? Switch to C-Spire and get personal service with our IP voice, fiber optic internet, and 4G LTE wireless. C-Spire Business Solutions. To start the switching process, call 1-855-C-Spire-2 and connect with a local rep.
Got a phone? Then you've got a data plan that's either cramping your style or busting your budget. C-Spire has a new unlimited everything plan for just $65. Want to stream movies? Get the jumbo popcorn. Want a text? Get a wrist brace. Stream music. Not just top 40, top 40,000. Talk like a telemarketer with a caffeine buzz. Unlimited everything from C-Spire. Just $65 a month. Like no other plan on the planet. C-Spire. Customer inspired.
We'll pay your early termination fee, plus get $50 when you switch with a friend.
1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. This is Your Turn, a live call-in show featuring spirited discussion and debate about issues that matter to the community. Stay with us to hear what Northwest Florida thinks. Better yet, call in at 623-1330 and tell us what you think. It's Your Turn, here on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. Now, here's the host of Your Turn.
Welcome to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops. You are in the Oval Office, the White House, of Gulf Coast Talk Radio, broadcasting to parts of 4 states along the Gulf Coast, and broadcasting to the nation and the world by live stream on the internet. Carl is not ashamed of the Word of God, the Constitution, or the Declaration of Independence. He does not care about political correctness, nor does he depend upon a teleprompter or popularity polls. Carl stands for truth, reason, and common sense. Carl firmly believes that America is God's gift to the world. If any of that interests you, you are at the right place. Freedom Friday on 1330 WEBY. Now, here's Carl Gallops.
Yeah, I do not care. I do not care, said Sam I Am, about political correctness. I just care about correctness and truth. Brandon Big B, I know you're very politically correct. You watch your P's and Q's and your words all the time.
Yes, absolutely, and you're just a racist for not being.
And the sarcasm flows like syrup in this place, dripping down off my tinfoil hat. Yes. Folks, listen, welcome to the second hour. Welcome back, America. Freedom Friday. We're broadcasting live today. Brandon Big B is in the house, as you can tell, my co-host, and Mallory Bardwell, of course, is in the box. She's in the booth, turning the knobs, pushing the buttons, and making all this thing work. So if you want to be a part of the show, call up 850-623-1330. Dr. Grace is in the house, too. In just a moment, we're going to bring her on. Let me just say, go to carlgallops.com. You can listen live. There's 3 different options there. You can listen live to us streaming over the internet. Plus, you can listen live anywhere there's an internet connection on your smartphone. Get the TuneIn Radio app. Just punch in 1330 WEBY, and you can get us. Plus, we podcast, carlgallops.com. You can get them there. Plus, we're Ustreaming right now, and we do that almost every Friday. You can peer in on us live as we're broadcasting. You just come right in the studio with us on Ustream. Just go to carlgallops.com, and under my picture there, you'll see the link, and you can come in. And Brandon and I do wear tinfoil hats, no lie. We've got them. In fact, I'm waving mine in front of the camera right now. I've had it on a bunch today, and Brandon has his, and we'll always have some tinfoil hats. When we get into conspiracy theory stuff, we'll put them on.
Matter of fact, I just saw a black helicopter outside.
Pictures on right now. Yeah. And you know, Dr. Grace is coming on. She's out of Washington, D.C. and Boston and all that, and whenever she's on, we better put our hats on, because there's no telling. NSA, FBI, IRS, everybody's listening to her. Dr. Grace!
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. What a pleasure to be here with you guys.
It's always a joy to have you. Brandon Big B, what about it?
Hey, we appreciate you being here, Dr. Grace. I know you got something good for us today.
Well, we got a lot of good news from Capitol Hill
Tell us about
this week.
Tell us.
Yeah. You know, Carl, unfortunately, every time I'm on the show, we have bad news, but this week is an exception.
Okay.
And it begins with 3 parts of this good news. The first is that finally, the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, has capitulated, and we will get a select committee on Benghazi. That is huge, because many people working on this case have been calling for a select committee that has special investigative powers. So far, there have been several committees on Benghazi. Some of the testimony has been behind closed doors, and all of the committees don't work together. So they don't even know what the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. The left foot doesn't know what the right foot is doing in Washington, D.C. That's no surprise. So what the select committee is going to do is it's going to bring all the information together. It's going to have special subpoena powers. And the best news of all, it is headed up by South Carolina Republican Trey Gowdy.
Yeah.
You all know Trey Gowdy. He's a former prosecutor. He shoots from the hip.
Yes, he does.
He's a man of tremendous integrity. He is brilliant, and he talks plain talk, which I think is usually the sign of the greatest brilliance of all. And he is tough as nails. He has been shaming the press for not reporting on Benghazi properly. He's going to head up this committee, and one of the first things he's going to do is subpoena Hillary Clinton. So, what does this all mean in a nutshell? It means that the Benghazi investigation is going now to a whole new level. This is getting serious. It is a snowball that just keeps growing. John Boehner, in a press conference, explained why he is approving of this select committee, and the reason is that there was an email that was discovered from Ben Rhodes, who is a White House advisor, and he was basically telling his team, the entire communications team, that when they spoke about Benghazi to the public, they had to make sure, quote, that they didn't present it as a failure of policy. And that is as close to a smoking gun as we are going to get. Because what that really implies, indicates, with beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they had to do and say anything
right,
but explain to the American people that Al-Qaeda was responsible, or an Al-Qaeda offshoot was responsible for the attack on the compound and the death of 4 Americans.
Absolutely.
Would not put this as a failure at the feet of President Barack Obama.
Absolutely. Now, let me break in and just remind you, Dr. Grace, when this thing broke, what is it? Has it been 2 years since Benghazi?
2012. Yes.
Right. Dr. Grace?
A little bit under it. It was in 2012, September of 2012.
All right. Dr. Grace, let me remind you, when it broke, and the analysis that I did, and then the analysis that you and I did, and the analysis that Big B was doing back then, and Mike Shoesmith and I, and P.P. Simmons, we might as well have had 3 heads back in those days.
Yeah.
When we were saying that, look, a video didn't cause this. This was a complete failure of policy. It was a cover-up. It was a confederacy of dunces. It was a plethora, a virtual cornucopia of lies. We were called racist. We were called idiots. We were called bigots. We were called tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists. John Boehner, back in those days, I don't remember his exact words, but he was basically saying that this investigation was not going to happen, that there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, he didn't say there was nothing wrong with it, but he was really backtracking away from the whole thing. And now, once these emails were leaked, these documents were leaked, now they're all over it. Now everybody's running around claiming and pretending like they were right with us all along.
Well, you know, Carl, what's really interesting is that in his press conference, Boehner said there's really 2 reasons why now we really have to take it to the select committee. One is the email by Ben Rhodes that is, as I said, as close to smoking gun as you're ever going to get in an investigation like this.
That's right.
And the second is that it was Judicial Watch that forced the release of these emails through a court proceeding. And when they released them, it was uncovered that all the documents that the White House and everybody involved in Benghazi was giving to these committees, they were so heavily redacted that they couldn't make any sense of them. So the difference between the redacted emails and the emails now fully released is so draconian that is the proof of the cover-up. Because why would you have so many black marks everywhere, which we've been saying the whole time, the black marks are not to conceal anything confidential, not to conceal anything classified. All of those black markings are just to conceal the truth from the American people.
That's right.
So basically, Judicial Watch compelled the full release of the documents, and Boehner had to admit it's now as clear, and no pun intended, as black and white, that a cover-up was underway,
right,
and that it led right to the White House.
And Dr. Grace, let's remind our listeners, and let's remind ourselves what this cover-up was about.
Yeah.
It was about the Islamic terrorist attack on our embassy in Libya, which resulted in the sodomization, the torture, the brutal death and murder of an American ambassador, while the White House, apparently, from what we know so far, I'm just going to be nice and say that they were aware of what was going on and basically did nothing. And as ugly as that sounds, it really is darker and deeper even than that. And that's what this is about. In other words, Dr. Grace, this smacks of absolute criminality to me. Do you feel the same thing in your bones?
Oh, absolutely, I do. I mean, it was, one question that really truly has not fully been adequately explained to the American people is, why on earth did we leave our folks on the ground there when everybody else was going home, packing up and going home because of the danger of the situation? I mean, the British were leaving, the Red Cross had left. I mean, it was clear anybody, and the ambassador himself was begging for help. So this was, at a minimum, a gross dereliction of duty. That's just at a minimum.
Yeah.
And I think that Hillary is running scared for her life. Remember when it was time for her to testify? Suddenly she got very sick, bumped her head, fell on her head, the hospitalizations, virus. Well, I got to tell you this, she better get her doctor ready to receive her because the next subpoena is going to be far worse than the namby-pamby deposition she got last time.
Right.
Yeah. She's going to have to face Trey Gowdy, and Trey Gowdy is one tough cookie.
Yeah. And do you also remember, by the way, great reminder there, thank you for that. Do you also remember that during this time, we had military officers, military officials, some of them retired very high up, who were saying on the internet and in some of the alternative media that they knew for a fact that this was scheduled to be a false flag event wherein the ambassador was going to be kidnapped in exchange for the release. Who was it?
It was a top Al Qaeda, somebody at
some
Guantanamo,
operative,
right?
some operative, and of course that was immediately dismissed. But now, after all of this came out, one of those military officials, at least one, has come back forward and said, "I told you so. I told you, I told you." And when all the dust settles, you're going to see that was what this was all about, and it was conceived in the White House. That goes beyond criminality. To me, that just goes to direct treason.
Well, that is what the committee is for. It's to prove what is accurate and what is speculation and rumor. And I have to say this. A lot of people say, nothing gets done in D.C., things move, dreadfully slowly. And yes, that's all true. That is all true. We can't really deny that. But we've got to say that at least today, with the work that Congress has done well, we do have to applaud them. It is a little bit like Watergate. They've kept digging. The Republicans have kept digging, and they've kept pushing to the point that they forced the Speaker of the House to capitulate. And they keep pushing so much that the mainstream media is going to have to follow. Even this week, ABC, an interview on ABC, there was a reporter who asked Hillary, "Well, do you think Benghazi is done, or should we keep going with this?" So they're obliged. So basically, what we should all be proud of is that by pushing the story forward, we are inching our way towards the truth, and we are inching our way towards proof of a lot of what we've been saying. So I'm eager to see where the committee takes it from here, and how events unfold, and how the facts come out, the incontrovertible facts. If we keep going in this direction, we're going to sink Hillary's candidacy beyond repair.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Listen, we're going to have to take a break, but before we do, Brandon has something to say.
I think there's something very important that Dr. Grace just touched on, because you said that we've kept pushing this issue. See, understand that if it wasn't for media sources like this one, like Freedom Friday, like Dr. Grace, like Michael Savage, like InfoWars, that kept this issue alive and pushed it to real everyday people, that kept screaming. Boehner can stand up there and say that it was because of an email, and I'm sure that had something to do with it, but the bottom line is his head as the Republican leader right now is on the chopping block, so to speak, because he has confronted nothing in this administration. Nothing. But because the people have kept pushing the issue, now he's backed into a corner that he has to do something, or he's dead politically. Now, I hope he's done politically anyway, but he's got to do something.
Dr. Grace?
You are right. This is people power in action. We are part of a movement, and guess what? Next segment, we're going to talk about how we're having the same impact on the IRS scandal, and we're pushing Democrats to move on that as well.
Fantastic. I can't wait to hear that. We are going to take a time out. Folks, you're listening to Freedom Friday with Carl and Brandon, Big B. And we're going to be back in just a moment. We got more of Dr. Grace, and she's got more to bring to the table. You don't want to miss what's coming next. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
Reverend Carl Gallups, the Bible gives us as Christians certain standards that we should live up to as Christians. How do I know if I'm being a good Christian?
Well, surprisingly, Mike, to a lot of folks, the Bible spends a lot of time addressing that very question, particularly the New Testament.
Well, I'd like to spend 30 minutes addressing it Sunday morning. Can we do that?
I look forward to it, Mike.
All right, Sunday morning, that'll be the topic for Ask the Preacher, 7:30 to 8 with Reverend Carl Gallups. How do I know if I'm being a good Christian? Tune in on 1330 WEBY. The car I drive has more than 250,000 miles on it. Many miles ago, it needed a new transmission, so I took it to AMCO. They rebuilt the transmission, and my car now runs as good as new. AMCO is known as the best place to fix transmissions. But did you know AMCO also does diagnostics, maintenance, and repairs on other parts of your car or truck? AMCO technicians have years of experience and undergo regular training and recertification. AMCO is locally owned, but their warranties are valid nationwide. AMCO Transmissions and Total Car Care on Davis Highway between Airport Road and Brent Lane.
David's Catfish House is the best catfish you'll ever have, but there's a lot more on the menu. You can get a hand-cut choice ribeye steak cooked just the way you like it. We have shrimp, oysters, chicken, burgers, and salads too. If you want a lot of variety on your plate, get the seafood platter of catfish, stuffed crab, boiled shrimp, fried shrimp, oysters, and onion rings. That'll fill you up. Come see why area residents voted David's Catfish House the best of the Bay for 4 years in a row. David's Catfish House, open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 9, on Dogwood Drive near the Milton Post Office.
Greetings. The Molino Friends of Freedom will meet for an evening with the Constitution at Fran's Country Grill, 5539 Highway 29, on the second Friday of this month. The meetings begin at 6:30 p.m. with an informal meet and greet time, followed by informational presentations and special speakers. You are invited to attend, learn more about the Constitution, and form friendships with liberty-minded citizens. Regular menu items will be available. That's an evening with the Constitution, second Friday this month, 6:30 p.m., Fran's Country Grill in Molino.
Hi, I'm Steve Hall with Akeley Realty. My wife Debbie and I work as a team. We represent buyers and sellers in good markets and bad. Your home is likely your largest investment. If you've owned your home for long, you should get a check and not owe any taxes when you sell. Call us for details. For a free comparative market analysis, call Steve Hall, 850-380-2211. Prices are down so you can find great deals from motivated sellers, short sales, and foreclosures in today's market. Call us at 850-380-2211. That's 850-380-2211.
Now, back to your turn on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
If Carl doesn't talk about it, it probably won't be talked about. Aren't you glad that he is on the air and back in the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio? Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops, 1330 WEBY.
All right, welcome back, America. So, Dr. Grace, do you think these Benghazi hearings and the things that are coming forward and the revelations that are being made, and then, of course, Hillary's going to have to testify, do you think this is going to serve to help to sink her candidacy for president coming up?
I think, yes. I think in the long run, Benghazi is going to destroy not just the president. I think it'll bring down Hillary's candidacy. Bear in mind that Hillary already failed to win the primary once. Remember, her own party basically rejected her for a neophyte.
Right.
And I think that with all the information that comes out about her horrendous leadership as Secretary of State, it'll make it impossible for her to win the nomination, let alone win a general election.
Well, you're a tremendous...
She's obviously not fit to be commander-in-chief.
Right. No, I agree. You're a tremendous political prognosticator. I remember back during the election, boy, you were calling the shots left and right. I mean, right up to the last moment. And so I hope you're right on this. Well, listen, we've got another scandal going on, the IRS scandal and hearings and Lois Lerner and being held in contempt. What's the latest out of D.C. on that? What do you know about that for us?
Well, big developments this week. So Lois Lerner was held in contempt in Congress this week. That means that right now a judge is in all likelihood going to force her to speak to Congress or go to jail. A grand jury is going to have to be convened. So this is huge. Congress, Republicans and 6 Democrats voted that she should be held in contempt. She's in contempt of Congress. I mean, this is unbelievable. Very few people get that black stain next to their name. And Lois Lerner joins that very small group of people that are held in contempt by Congress. And what's remarkable here is that 6 Democrats broke rank to support the Republican vote on this.
Were there any big names among those? Any big names that you know of?
There were many of them were those that are running in states that are moderate Republicans, moderate blue states. You know, that sometimes elect they're purple or they're moderate, and so they really are going to be in a box if they don't show that they're responsive to what the people are demanding. But the bigger news is this, Carl. 26 Democrats joined the Republican resolution demanding a special counsel on the IRS.
Wow.
Wow,
that's
26.
Big.
So now you've got 6 on Lois Lerner, and you've got 26 regarding the special counsel. That means that it's very difficult for liberals and mainstream media or Democrats to say that this is all merely a Republican concern.
Right.
It's obvious that it's a growing American concern. The American people are worried about the abusive power of the IRS, and the American people want to ensure that the IRS doesn't get involved in what it really amounts to suppressing political activity. That's what they were doing.
Well, why doesn't Lois Lerner do what Hillary did and just say, what does it matter? What difference does it make?
Well, you know, she already spoke too much. Had she just remained quiet, she would have literally have taken the fifth, and then she would be beyond the reach of Congress. But the key here is that she did plead her innocence and then pleaded the fifth. You can't do that. You can't have it both ways. And that's what put her in a legal box. So, Carl, basically, she's going to, two things are possible, and the third, I hope, does not happen. She's either going to have to speak, or she's going to go to jail, or something terrible will happen to her, as happened to Loretta Fuddy. Those are the three things. Those are the only three possible outcomes.
Right.
And I pray to God it's not number three, because she's a key witness in all this. And let me say this about Lois Lerner. Lois Lerner is really, it's going to be very hard for them to get away from this contempt of Congress vote. Remember, when Eric Holder was held in contempt, he basically went to the courts and said he really can't speak to Congress because so much of his conversation was privileged. Meaning he spoke with Obama, and therefore it's got executive privilege. Well, they can't say that about Lois Lerner, because if they do, if they claim that Lois Lerner's testimony is privileged, that would implicate the President of the United States, and they can't do that.
No,
they cannot say that the reason she can't speak is because the President was involved in deliberations with her. That would prove the Republican case.
They're absolutely in a box on that. Listen, I put my tinfoil hat on a moment ago when you said something terrible would happen to her like Loretta Fuddy. So you think that was probably more than an accident? I do. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Dr. Grace, but I mean, you know, that's a viable number three you had in your list there.
Listen, I mean, when key witnesses suddenly die in random plane crashes,
I know.
Can we send Dr. Grace one of our tinfoil hats?
Yeah, we need to send you a tinfoil hat. You know, for whenever you come on.
You know what? She didn't just die in a plane crash. She died after everybody survived the plane crash.
That's true. Everybody, pilot and everybody survived, and then she died.
Scared her to death.
Well, listen, you're just a racist. Let me move around. Listen, Monica Lewinsky appearing in this article in Vanity Fair. I mean, goodness, Hillary's just taking it from all sides, isn't she?
Well, look, this article by Monica Lewinsky is really, really damning, because what she writes is that she was branded and her life was destroyed, basically, because the attacks on her were, quote-unquote, imbued with power. That is, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton collaborated to destroy her reputation. And one thing I want to say, Carl, I wanted to share a very important personal story. The feminists had always told us that the reasons we really needed to help women to advance is that women in powerful positions would be able to help other women along the way, to protect them from harassment and also to help to promote them. Well, I can tell you this, as a young faculty member at Howard University, I was once, two older faculty members made comments about me that were completely and utterly inappropriate. And it could have risen to the level of sexual harassment, but the two older female faculty members took them to the woodshed, and they put the kibosh on it, and I was really saved. Now, Hillary Clinton, this is a woman that had tremendous power that could have come to the rescue, no matter that this is a woman that was sleeping with her husband, but still, she was a woman in a position of power, and she collaborated with the Old Boys Club to destroy this woman's reputation. She did the opposite of what feminists had always said the advancement of women would do.
You're not saying the left are a bunch of hypocrites, are you? Come on, we've got 20 seconds. What do you say to that?
I'm saying that they think, some people, MSNBC is saying that this whole thing might help Hillary. It's going to really harm her, because too many women in the workplace have had experiences where senior women haven't come to their defenses, or senior women have come to their defenses. So left, right, and center, we can all relate to this. What does a woman in power do when another woman is being harassed? And in this case, the story isn't so much even about infidelity. It's about an old boys club destroying a young woman that was put in a really compromising position.
Brilliantly spoken, Dr. Grace. Brilliantly spoken. And we're brilliantly out of time. We'll have Dr. Grace with us next Friday. It's always good to have her in the house. Well, folks, in the last 30 minutes, it'll be Brandon Big B all the way. Don't go anywhere.
NBC News Radio, I'm Marlis Majerus. President Obama says he has full confidence in his embattled Veterans Affairs Secretary Eric Shinseki. White House spokesman Jay Carney says the department is investigating allegations of treatment delays for patients who died while waiting for care at a VA hospital in Phoenix.
General Shinseki, who is himself a veteran and a West Point graduate, is keenly focused on fixing the problems that exist at the Veterans Affairs Department.
At a town hall meeting in Arizona today, Senator John McCain said he wants a full accounting.
If these allegations are true or a violation of law, it's not a matter of resignations, it's a matter of whether somebody goes to jail or not.
Chrysler is recalling 780,000 minivans to replace window switches that can short-circuit if they get wet. The recall involves 2010 through 2014 Dodge Grand Caravan and Chrysler Town & Country minivans. This is NBC News Radio.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and nearly 3 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then, we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure it's both simple and easy. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call, and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. To learn more, call 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
Important terms and conditions apply. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender. License number 50 states. MLS number 3030.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-319-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-319-MY-TV.
Just $24.99. What are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-319-MY-TV. That's 877-319-MY-TV.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-319-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-319-MY-TV.
Just $24.99. What are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-319-MY-TV. That's 877-319-MY-TV.
When you need appliances, there is one name above all the rest, Tops. Tops Appliance has been providing appliance sales and unparalleled service since 1957. Many things have changed in the area since then, but not the quality appliance sales and service that generations have come to expect from the experts at Tops. Tops Appliance has refrigerators and freezers, ovens and ranges, washers and dryers, dishwashers, and built-in appliances too. Tops carries top quality brands including GE, Genair, Hotpoint, Maytag, and Samsung. Tops also carries used appliances which come with warranties. Tops has Northwest Florida's best appliance service technicians that can fix every brand. Don't be misled by the advertised prices of other stores. They may show a low price to get you in the door, but then they add charges for power cords and vent materials, hoses, delivery, and installation. But at Tops, all of these are gladly provided at no extra cost. So remember, when you need appliances, pick the one place above all the rest, Tops. Tops Appliance, Highway 90, just east of Stewart Street.
What would her reaction be if you sent her flowers today? It's not her birthday, it's not your anniversary, it's not a day that means anything special. Not yet anyways. But that's what makes the flowers from the Purple Tulip Florist that much more meaningful. The flowers you send her today, just a day chosen at random, are sent just to say I love you. And that's the best reason of all. So call the Purple Tulip Florist at 983-3600 or visit our website at purpletulipflorist.com to turn her ordinary day into an extraordinary one.
Now, back to your turn on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's talk radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
Welcome back to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops, 1330 WEBY. Carl speaks with ontological certitude and theological indubitableness. Fear is not out there. This means that God knows who he is, and that he is unashamed to be on a first-name basis with God. Now, here's Carl Gallops.
All right, welcome back Gulf Coast and welcome back America. And we are broadcasting live this afternoon, as we do almost every Friday afternoon, right here on Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops, Mallory Bardwell, your world-famous producer, here in the house with us, as well as Brandon Big B, co-hosting with me today. And Brandon, it's always great to have you in the studio. Welcome.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen, I'm looking forward to what you've got. You've got a lot on the plate, a lot you're going to serve up and bring to us. You've been doing a lot of investigating this week, and I know you've got a huge fan base out there that wants to hear what you have to say. Just before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to the folks at Patterson Heating and Air Conditioning right here on the Gulf Coast, especially in the Northwest Florida area, because they service this entire area. Tom Patterson, he's the owner. He's a dear friend of mine, but long before he was ever advertising here on Freedom Friday, I've been using him at my home for many years, and you know that.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I've been using him exclusively at the church where I pastor at Hickory Hammock Baptist Church for many, many years. He and his wife, Alice, they're tremendous people, honest as the day is long. I love them. Very, very competent. I don't know how many years he's been in the business, but it's a long time, and he knows his stuff. What I appreciate about him, but there's so much that I appreciate about him. He's done a lot of work for me over the years, but I know when he comes to my home, I've never had anyone say anything to the contrary about what I'm getting ready to say, so I know all customers feel this way. I know he gives all customers this treatment. Again, long before I was on the radio, he was servicing my home, so he had no reason to do any different back then. But when he comes, I have full confidence that exactly what's wrong is what he's going to tell me, and he's going to fix just that. And you know, so many people know very little about air conditioning and heating. Yeah. I'm one of those people. And so he could come by and say, man, your compressor's blown. You need a new compressor. Give me $500 or whatever it is, you know. Yeah. But no, he'll come by and say, look, we got a condenser shot here, and you got a flay in your line here. He said, I can fix that for, $100. We'll be out of here. And or whatever it is. I'm not quoting his prices. I'm just saying that the man is honest. He only fixes what needs to be fixing. And I love that about him. I don't have any tightness in my chest at all when Tom Patterson shows up, Patterson Heating and Air Conditioning. I'll tell you something else they've done at my house, Brandon. You know this. My health has improved dramatically over the last several years because they put in what's called a fresh air blue tube ultraviolet lamp. They put that in, and every several years they'll upgrade it, put another one in, and what it does, it kills microscopic bacteria and viruses and mold and all that stuff that comes in and out of your system, gets blown right back into your house and into your lungs, but it kills it. It kills it as it comes through or blows out, and it has made a huge difference in my health. And you remember years ago I would have 4 or 5 bacterial upper respiratory infections every year. It was killing me, and we had them come over and they said, look, we're going to clean your air conditioning system, and then we're going to put this in there. And they did that, and I'm telling you, I've gone now for years without having anything. And when I do get something, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. And it's maybe once a year. Not even that much. Once every 2 years I get a little something, but that's it. When it used to be 4 to 5 times a year. So this is huge.
Yeah. No, the blue tubes work, no doubt. Yeah. And Tom has got to be the most honest man I've ever met in my life.
I was going to say, you've known him for decades.
I've known him personally. I've done business with him. I have worked for him, directly for him in another business venture that he had.
That's right. I forgot all about that. You did some years back.
Yeah. Yes. I've seen that guy walk up to a house that had an air conditioner problem and literally walk in the door and hear it running and know what was wrong with it.
As soon as he walked in the door.
Tom, hey, you know that? You don't hear that? No. What? No.
I don't hear that. Well, no, he is great, folks. I mean, we could brag about him all day, and so we're going to move along with the show. But listen, call Tom Patterson at Patterson Heating and Air Conditioning. If you have air conditioning needs, heating needs, all of that, he's the man to call. I'm telling you, right here along the Gulf Coast, he services the entire Northwest Florida area. 626-7124, 626-7124. I'm going to give it to you one more time. 626-7124. That's Patterson Heating and Air Conditioning. Well, Brandon, I know you got a lot to bring to us. Just tell us what's on your mind. Man, I saw your slate a little while ago, and I'm interested in hearing all about it. Tell us.
Well, look, I'm just going to run down because this is just a group of notes that I made this week. Okay? All right, you ready for these titles? These are my titles, by the way, just for different things to talk about.
I'm ready.
Everybody's a racist.
Okay, well, I know you and I are.
Yeah. The next one, we the people. Mm-hmm. The next one, is Harvard damned?
Mm-hmm. Harvard.
That could be interesting.
Harvard University. Okay.
Moral decay. We've never talked about that on this show before, have we? The last one. The feminization of men.
No.
You think that topic might make somebody mad?
No.
Let's go there first.
Okay, let's go there first. Let's go there, just in case we've got mad people listening. Let's go there.
Listen, here's what inspired me on this. I was, be careful how I say this.
Yes, please
I was involved.
We want to have our FCC license pulled.
I was involved in an event a few weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to be around a couple of hundred kids, I'm going to say, between the ages of like 14, 15 to 18. On top of that couple of hundred kids, there was another probably 40 to 50 college age young adults that were there in leadership roles.
Okay.
And then there were some other adults involved.
Okay.
And I'm just going to tell you, I had this conversation with several people there. That college age generation, and then the kids, the students that were there. Brother, we're in trouble because we have no men left in this country. Now hear me. Here's what I'm not talking about. I'm not saying that all of those males there were homosexual.
Right.
What I'm telling you is that they are not being raised as men.
And men of God.
As real men and as real men of God. Now, you could even go so far as to take the spiritual aspect out of it.
I've seen the same thing. I've been screaming the same thing, but you go ahead.
You can take the spiritual aspect out of it. Now, we shouldn't. I'm not suggesting that.
But it's still true.
But we still have no men. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about guys in their 20s. When I was in my early 20s, I would have ran through that block wall right there. I'd have tried. I'd have killed myself trying. I'm talking about guys in their 20s walking around with their shoulders slumped over and their heads held down and wearing loafers. And I mean,
afraid of their shadows.
Afraid of their shadows, afraid of the dark.
Won't speak up, won't speak out.
Soft-spoken. It just absolutely made me sad.
Won't take responsibility, won't take leadership. I've seen it for the last several decades.
It made me sad. So, you know, I wanted to get into this last week, but we got tied up in the whole Israel discussion and then replacement theology, and we needed to handle all that.
Right.
But I had the opportunity to have breakfast with Mike Shoesmith Saturday morning. And he and I got to talking, and he just says out of the blue, he says, you know, yesterday your dad and I were talking about this whole feminization of men thing.
I told you I've been talking about it.
I started laughing. I said, Mike, and I had my iPad with me, and I pulled up my notes for last week's show, and I said, look at what I had to talk about in segment 2. And the title of it was just that, the feminization of men. So we have to talk about this.
Well, that's part of the liberal communist agenda.
That is definitely an agenda. Why is our entire culture, I want to say from about 30 and below, why are all of the males, and that's a generalization, there's some out there that aren't.
Well, we won't use the word all, but let's just say
the
a
majority of the males more and more feminine and feminine acting? Not homosexual. Why are they feminine acting? There's several reasons. Number one, look at the male role models over the last 20, 30 years in this country. Let's look at our presidents, our last 3, okay? Bill Clinton, dominated by a woman, possibly a homosexual.
There's
a lot of allegations out there that pointed to that.
They were.
Okay.
That's right. Or bisexual, yeah.
Definitely not a man, refused to take a stand on anything. When he was caught in an out-and-out lie, or an out-and-out affair, what did he do? Instead of admitting it like a man and saying, yes, I messed up, he ran from the truth, he lied, he just deny.
And called us liars.
Listen to the way the man talks. Did you ever hear him talk like a man?
Right.
Okay? That's number one. Who's the next president after him?
Yeah.
George W. Bush. George W. Bush. That man caved on every principle that he supposedly stood for.
Right. He started off sounding like a man.
Started off like a man, just like his daddy did.
And we all rah.
That's right.
And then a few months later, we were saying, what happened to the man we heard on TV?
Caved on every principle that he supposedly stood for. Now look at what we have now. Okay? Again, effeminate, dominated by a woman,
dominated by several women,
and rumors and allegations that possibly he's a homosexual.
Right. Or bisexual.
So now I'm just starting there.
Right.
Let's talk about media. Let's look at how the male role models in media have declined over the last 20, 30, 40 years.
Where are the John Waynes?
Thank you so much. That was the first name I was getting ready to say.
Where's the Clint Eastwoods?
Where's the John Waynes? Where's the Clint Eastwoods? Seriously.
Yeah.
Where's the now, as much as I don't like this guy anymore, but think about some of the roles that Arnold played 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
And these were popular characters.
Right.
See, 20, 30 years ago, when two little boys had an argument, it was okay if they went in the front yard and slugged it out.
Right.
Until one of them had a black eye, and then they were buddies again 20 minutes later. Now,
right.
Number one, the two little boys are too scared to go in the front yard and touch each other. And number two, somebody's calling the police if they do.
Right. Now the role models are Raymond and Doug on...
And think about that. Think about every one of them. What's the common traits?
And
dominated by women.
Big Bang Theory, the three nerds who are all effeminate.
Yeah. Dominated by women.
All of them.
They're all idiots as far as common sense goes.
Right.
If the fathers that you gave examples of, they're Raymond.
Right.
If the kids are left alone with him, he does something stupid, lets them play in the street,
self-centered idiots,
whatever.
gambling fools. Yeah.
So now that's something. Now let's put our tinfoil hats on here.
Okay, let me get mine.
There is an outright. Now this is why we said. This is what we said a few minutes ago that this is an agenda. Okay, but there is a chemical attack going on against manhood. It's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
Research some of these terms. Bisphenol A, BPA. Okay. Mm-hmm. Listen, we don't have one in here right now. When you pick up a water bottle from the store, and we're all guilty of it, there's chemicals in that plastic bottle. Now, this is a fact, okay? I'm wearing my tinfoil hat for all of you that think I'm nuts. Okay. This is a fact. There are chemicals in that plastic bottle that come into your body because they've soaked into the water or whatever that's in that bottle, or whatever liquid, that come into your body that act as estrogen mimickers. What does that do to a man's body? Reduces testosterone level.
And feminizes.
Reduces sperm counts. It feminizes men.
Right.
There's an outright chemical attack on manhood. Now, think about that. You reduce testosterone, you reduce sperm counts in men. What is one of the stated goals of the elitist and the New World Order? Population reduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Population control reduction.
That's right. Yep. Now, they're already doing it through abortion, through the homosexual movement. Homosexuals can't reproduce.
Right.
That's
right.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, okay, all right. Some people didn't know that.
Automatic population reduction.
That's right.
Through abortion.
But obviously, everybody's not going to buy into that.
Right.
The masses are not going to buy into that. I mean, we know that. The true homosexual population of the United States is what, 3-4%?
Right. Right.
Okay.
And so that'll take care of a percentage.
It takes care of a small minority percentage. Now, abortion is even bigger.
Right.
I mean, we've killed 60 million human beings.
Right. And among those 60 millions, they would have made it and had millions more children.
So now it's hundreds of millions.
Killed hundreds of millions of our citizens.
That's right, if you multiply that number out.
Right.
But you still can't take out the masses. Right. So how do you take out the masses? Through chemicals.
Right.
Our food is filled with chemicals.
Right.
At this point, because of the chemicals that have been introduced through seeds and through fertilizers, our soils are now full of chemicals.
Right.
There's an assault on manhood. We have a problem in this country. We need men. We need men to stand up. If we don't have a group of men raise up soon, we're in trouble.
And we need men of God.
That's exactly
men
right.
who will stand on the word, unashamed, not afraid of their shadow, not concerned about political correctness, but to stand in the truth of God's word.
And let me make this point about what you just said. Does it take more of a man to go with the world, or does it take more of a man to take that stand and say, I'm not ashamed to stand on God's word?
And the enemy
because who gets laughed at?
That's right. And the enemy comes in your mind and says, well, look, you're not a real man if you don't stand with the word.
Let's look at some of the biblical heroes. Look at King David, brother. That man lived in caves and killed men, all the time. Jesus made a whip and tied stones into it and cleared out the temple by himself. Right? You think he was a man?
I got you. Yeah. They ran from him. I know. Folks, I love it when people say, preacher, you need to be more like Jesus. Okay, let me go get a whip and go to the temple. Folks, you're listening to Freedom Friday. Carl Gallup's Brandon Big B's in the house. We're going to have more of this when we come back right after this timeout. We'll be right back.
When you
or a loved one are looking for an assisted living facility that feels like home, try Sable House Assisted Living Facility in Pensacola. At Sable House, you experience community living with a personal touch, including cable TV in every room, meals and snacks that keep your dietary needs in mind, laundry and housekeeping services, and transportation. Go by and see them at 150 Crossville Street off 9 Mile Road by the Milestone Community, or call them at 850-477-1312. That's Sable House Assisted Living, a caring community.
You've heard them. Last our lease, everything must go. Or all our prices have been slashed. Richard Bryson Jewelers really doesn't need a sale because prices always are set as low as possible for the highest quality merchandise. It must work. Richard Bryson has been in business in Pensacola for more than 30 years. For special occasions this year, check out the amazing collection of exquisite creations on display at your full-service jewelers for this area, Richard Bryson Jewelers, Belvedere Park Plaza, North 9th Avenue and Creighton Road in Pensacola.
Chuck Sandler loves a good challenge, and he faced a huge one trying to build his company, Energy Savers of Florida, while simultaneously serving alternate military tours of duty in the Middle East. He had to fight through a lengthy downturn in the economy and other obstacles, but with patience, perseverance, a lot of hard work, and dogged determination, Chuck has prevailed, and today Energy Savers of Florida is continuing to meet the challenge. It's one reason I've been a loyal customer for a dozen years. Make Energy Savers of Florida your heating and cooling company. They'll save you money, and they'll be there when you need them. Energy Savers of Florida, ready to go to work at your home or your business in Santa Rosa or Escambia counties in Florida or in South Alabama. You can call them toll-free, 1-800-227-3724, or visit their website, energysaversoflorida.com.
You have a choice where you get your auto parts, so choose Doug's Auto Supply. Doug's Auto Supply is not a chain. They've been locally owned and operated since 1977 in the different shows. At Doug's Auto Supply, you get excellent parts, excellent prices, excellent automotive knowledge, and excellent customer service. For hydraulic hoses, Doug's Auto Supply has a huge in-stock selection, and nobody has better prices on radiators. Doug's Auto Supply is the only auto parts store in Santa Rosa County that mixes and matches automotive paints. Doug's Auto Supply, next to Grocery Outlet on Highway 90 in Pace.
Now, back to your turn on 1340 WFAY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
How can one man bother so many people by simply telling the truth? Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
All right, welcome back, folks, to Freedom Friday. Well, Brandon and I just went on a tirade about manhood in America, and especially godly men. And let me just say, Brandon and I are both willing to concede that there are a lot of real men out there, and there are a lot of godly men out there, and we praise God for you. We're just lamenting the fact that it seems to be that those numbers are getting less and less.
Smaller and smaller.
And it's scaring us because, I mean, we see these guys growing up that have such potential to be men and godly men and men who would make awesome husbands and fathers and leaders and world changers. But as you said, they walk around shoulder slump, head down, afraid to speak up, afraid to speak out, talking in little soft, little squeaky voices, and it's just frightening. But we've talked about all the reasons why.
And let me just say this, and let's end that discussion on a positive note.
Yeah.
Dads, granddads, uncles, whoever you are, if you are a man and you can have influence over young men,
right,
in a correct way, and teach them how to be men and future men and godly men, take that opportunity. Take that opportunity.
Thanks. That's
pass that on to the next generations, because understand that it's not going to be long when they're going to be the next presidents.
That's right. And think of our founding fathers. I mean, when George Washington was out leading the troops against all odds, I don't know his age, but most of those guys
were in their 30s.
They were in their 30s. Yeah. And a lot of the guys that were fighting were teenagers and young 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, and these guys had responsibilities heaped upon their shoulders.
So just look as recently as the Vietnam generation.
Yeah.
You had multiple 17, 18-year-old boys going over there fighting a war.
Right.
Fighting a war.
Right.
Many of them signing up. Now, a lot of them drafted, yes.
Right.
But many of them signing up to go fight a war.
Yeah, and I know some at that age that went to Iraq and Afghanistan too.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, listen, you said something a moment ago that fired me up, and I wanted to hear more about it, so I want to ask you, and then I'll hush and let you go. But tell us about this going on at Harvard. But you said is Harvard damned or condemned? I mean, what's going on at Harvard?
Yeah, this is unbelievable. I seriously thought I was hallucinating when I stumbled across this article the other day. And this is CNS News, okay?
Right.
Fairly mainstream site.
Right.
All right. Here's the title of it. Harvard will host reenactment of Satanic Mass.
I saw something on that. All right, go ahead. I did not read it.
So I get to reading a little bit, and it's the Harvard Extension Cultural Studies Club.
Right.
Got to be something wrong with that anyway.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But these guys have called in a satanic priest, his name's here in the article, to host a, quote, reenactment.
But if I was called in to preach the gospel, I'd be put in jail. But a satanic priest, like
to host a reenactment
of what?
Of a satanic mass. It will be performed by a satanic temple, by a priest of a satanic temple. It's going to be held at a place called the Queen's Head Pub in Memorial Hall at Harvard. Folks, understand, Harvard was established in the 1700s, I believe, as what? As a seminary. It was a Christian university. They were training preachers.
Right.
And now we're hosting a satanic mass. If Harvard doesn't think that this might not call down a little bit of God's judgment on that school, watch out.
Right. And again, and Mike made a brilliant point in the beginning of the show when he's talking about God's not sitting up in a rocking chair with a baseball bat looking to see who he can strike. But there have been spiritual laws put in motion.
No, but when you shoot a flare at him,
that's right,
and say, hey, watch this, I bet you got his attention.
That's right. Hey, God, watch this. Yeah. But not only that, but you don't even have to do that. I mean, even at that, the Lord doesn't have to physically, literally respond because the spiritual laws have already been put into effect.
Yeah.
You cannot mock God.
No.
Whatever you sow, you reap. It doesn't say you cannot mock God. If you mock him, he's going to beat you up.
No.
He says those laws have already been put in place. Like if you put a kernel of corn in the ground, corn is going to grow.
If you have a satanic mask,
right?
And you open that door to that demonic realm,
that's where I was going,
to come and inhabit that campus.
That's right.
And possibly those kids, those people, those young adults that are sitting there watching this happen,
right,
then guess what is going to happen?
That's right.
You are going to open the door for demonic realm to come in and take over your campus and those students' lives.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not talking weirdness like we're opening a portal to hell.
Right.
No, I'm talking about giving the demonic realm access to your life.
Right.
And that's what they're doing.
Absolutely. And truly, that's not very weird. I mean, you really are, biblically, you are opening a portal to hell. You're opening up demonic strongholds according to the Word of God.
You heard it here first.
That's right. And folks, listen, and Brandon and I come from a biblical worldview. We're unashamed of that. The Bible is clear. These spiritual laws exist. And you, as Brandon just brilliantly stated, you bring in a satanic priest, have a satanic ritual, and you invite the demonic satanic presences to show up. According to God's Word, they're going to show up. They're going to inhabit those places. Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, listen, two more articles real quick that tie in with that, and I'm just going to give you the headlines. Decline of religious belief means we need more exorcists, say Catholics.
Good question.
The next one, atheists to launch at the first TV channel dedicated to, quote, godlessness.
Oh my gosh, a TV channel dedicated to godlessness.
Our country's not moral today.
I thought all of them were dedicated to godlessness, but now we've got one that's just saying it.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Well, folks, you won't hear any of this on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, but you'll hear it right here on Freedom Friday. Aren't you glad you listened? Now you're in the know, and you're in the know first, and you will continue to be in the know as you continue to listen to this program. Go to carlgallops.com tomorrow and check out the podcast. Thank you for listening today. Freedom Friday, Carl Gallops, Brandon Gallops, Mallory Bardwell. God bless you. God bless America.
Hi, this is Mike Bates, manager of WEBY Radio. If you enjoy the programs you hear on WEBY, please let us know. But more importantly, please let the businesses you hear advertising on this radio station know that you appreciate their support of the programs you like. It's because of their advertising dollars that we can stay on the air with the talk programs you like to hear. If you need a product or service that is offered by a business that advertises on WEBY, we encourage you to buy it from that business. And please, tell them that you hear them on WEBY and that you appreciate their support of your favorite radio station. If you don't need to buy from an advertiser right now, that's okay. Just call or stop by and tell them thanks for being on WEBY Radio. The business owner wants to hear that as much as you want to hear us. When you support WEBY's advertisers, you support the programs you enjoy listening to. Thank you for listening, and please, thank an advertiser for advertising. This message is from your friends here at 1330 WEBY.
1330 WEBY, Milton, Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Northwest Florida's talk radio.
NBC News Radio, I'm Barbara Cusack. A just-released report by Amnesty International says the Nigerian military